Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the SWAC weekend. We have Alabama State, UAPB, looking to be in the driver's seat for a berth in the SWAC championship coming out of the East. Let me repeat that. We got Alabama State and UAPB this weekend looking to be in the driver's seat. BJ Jones joining us. If I would have told you, man, a couple of months ago that we'd be having a conversation about Alabama State and UAPB being the two teams to beat in the East, would you have bought that at all?
No. I would have asked you, Tolly, have you been doing some extracurricular activities?
Those left-hand cigarettes, huh?
No, but with Arkansas Pine Bluff, they're one of those teams people should have been paying attention to. They had a three-headed monster coming in: Skylar Perry, Josh Wilkes, and Harry Ballard, the two receivers, and Perry, the quarterback. Then they had three all-SWAC offensive linemen. You put that combination together before we throw in everything else, and that puts you in championship contention. And Arkansas Pine Bluff had a pretty good year in 2019, their first winning season since 2012. So Arkansas Pine Bluff should have been considered as one of those teams. Alabama State, with the youth, we're talking about 4 redshirt freshmen up front on the offensive line, 1 sophomore, redshirt freshman quarterback. A lot of people didn't have Alabama State there, but that youth has really come together. Those kids are playing hard, and you have to, if you're an Alabama State fan, shout out to my dad. If you're an Alabama State fan, you have to be excited about what the future holds for that football team.
UAPB has surprised a lot of people. Alabama State has probably had more expectations than UAPB and a lot of other schools in the SWAC because of the amount of dollars that have been poured into that program, the amount of resources that they have. Let's quickly listen to Dr. Donald Hill-Ely, head coach at Alabama State. I asked him earlier this week during the SWAC teleconference, what is it like? The pressure, does he feel it? And here's what he had to say.
Oh, you got to win this one or you fired. I mean, you got all kinds of craziness that goes on, but I got to always tell people that I was looking for a job when I found this one. So that's why you go to school, get an education. So that ain't gonna hold it over my head. The key is I have a job to do as putting guys out there to be victorious against everybody we play. And we work for the same outcome. No one hates losing more than the coaches and the players on the field.
All right, BJ, a little more spice this year with Coach Ely. He's always very laid back, kind of reserved, but man, he's been talking about shoes and where he's going to leave them, and he's not worried about his job. People say what they want to say. He's been, I don't want to say on edge, but man, he has not held his tongue so far this spring.
I think, back against the wall, he's really let his hair down, so to speak. There's only one place to go. Either he's going to get it done or he's going to get gone. And you look at the resources that Alabama State has poured into not only football, but all athletics. Talk about $65 million stadium. Talk about a $5 million football complex. If you don't win, those investments just turn into $70 million worth of debt. So when you pour that amount of money into your athletic programs, you want to seek return on investment. Now, Alabama State has seen return on investment, women's basketball, track and field, baseball, softball, and some other sports, but it's the big one that they're really looking for, and that's football. And they hadn't gotten that, and the people down in Montgomery, they're very anxious.
Let's talk about on the field. They blitzed Jackson State a lot last weekend. Coach Sanders came out and said everybody knew that's what they were going to do. We knew that's what they were going to do. I was sitting with fans. I was shooting the game from the visitor side. That's where the Jackson State fans were, which there were plenty of Jackson State fans there. Don't completely buy this narrative that Alabama State didn't allow Jackson State fans into the game. If they bought tickets ahead of game day, they got in. There were plenty of JSU fans there. But they were even in the stands talking about, man, do something different. Here comes the blitz. What was your takeaway on Alabama State's defense last weekend and how they gave Jackson State problems there?
Man, they played lights out. I'll tell you that. When you limit that Jackson State run game, which they did, Alexander only had 76 yards rushing. 43 of them came in the third quarter, the end of the third quarter off that long run. So that lets you know how they boxed them in. And then for that offensive line for Jackson State, they couldn't pick up the blitz. Sometimes they didn't know who to get. And sometimes even when Alabama State didn't blitz, they were getting to Jalen Jones. That defense played very well. And that defense is young. We talk about Bubba Adams. He's only a true sophomore. Christian Clark up front, what he's able to do. And then the secondary, we have a family connection. James Burgess, a.k.a. Bugs, getting the start at corner, who's a big corner, 6'3.5", almost 6'4", playing one-on-one with some of the best receivers that you'll see in the SWAC. So that defense, they played lights out. We talked about that front seven. We knew that they would be good, but that secondary might be one of the better units in the conference.
On the offensive side of the ball, Ezra Gray, he really exploded there in that game. This kid has some big game potential and potential to play even beyond college. Do you think?
Yes, Ezra Gray. He's a sub 4.4 guy. Put up 195 yards last week. And it's his vision and speed. You combine those two. He's a nice running back. And also, I like Ron Mills, redshirt freshman quarterback. He didn't look like a redshirt freshman last week. You saw him confident, especially in the second half, and the spotlight didn't get too bright for him. So you have to like what you saw there. And then those receivers on the outside, Michael Jefferson, Jeremiah Hickson, they both came out and they balled. And they really put some nice numbers up against a Jackson State secondary that we've heard a lot about, but they were able to get the best of them.
When you look at it this weekend, UAPB, Alabama State, it's a really big game. It's the only game on the SWAC schedule after Grambling hit pause. Poor A&M, good Lord, they can't buy a game. What is your prediction? UAPB, Alabama State. What, if not a prediction, what will you be looking for as a key to who might win the game?
So I'm looking at three-headed monster versus three-headed monster. We already talked about Arkansas Pine Bluff, Skylar Perry, Josh Wilkes, Harry Ballard. That's their three-headed monster. Alabama State has a almost four-headed monster with Ryan Nettles. You also have Ezra Gray. Then you also have Jeremiah Hickson and with the other receiver names escape me, Jefferson, Michael Jefferson. I almost wanted to call him Michael Jordan. But big three versus big three. Which big three is able to have the big game? And if it does, if that's a wash and they're right there neck and neck, defensively, I like Alabama State a little bit better than Arkansas Pine Bluff because of Bubba Adams, because of Christian Clark in that secondary. If I have to give anybody an edge right now, I give it to Arkansas Pine Bluff because they've been creeping up to this moment. If you look at the 2019 season, they were right there. A game or two go their way. They could very well play themselves in the SWAC championship game. I give them an edge, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Alabama State ride their momentum from last week into this week and get that win over the Golden Lions.
All right. It'll be a good one. We'll be watching it. BJ will be watching it. And, of course, we'll talk about it next week. Let us know in the comments what you think. Who you rolling with? UAPB, Alabama State. Should be a good one. He's our SWAC insider, BJ Jones. I'm Tolly Carr from the Atlanta studios. We'll see you guys later.